How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to this video. I am Barry, and today I will be talking about my experience, and then also a review of the TNA tapings I went back to a couple days ago, March 20th, 29th, so last Friday and Saturday. It is Tuesday. It is like 10:45 p.m., so it's late Tuesday. It kind of took me a couple days to make this video. I was going to do it yesterday. Things came up. But guess what? We're doing it now. And yeah, so before I get into anything, we'll just talk about getting there on Friday. Friday was super weird. The tapings were a lot less. Gonna get some water, sorry. Sorry. But yeah, anyways, back to Friday. Friday, the tapings were super weird. This wasn't really packed. And so my tickets, I got section 101, which is across the ramp. So if you have the ramp, there's the ring, and then there's that section. Friday, they didn't pull them out, which was super weird. So I'm talking to ticket people, and long story short, I got upgraded to front row. So if you see now, there should be a video of me being front row. Friday night, I got upgraded to front row, right behind the commentator. So if you watch Impact or any of the Impacts, I'm on the show. I'm behind the commentators, so anytime they do a commentators section, I am behind the commentators. It was awesome. I don't know why the section wasn't pulled out. They just screwed them up. But hey, I got front row. Me and my brother got front row, so that was super awesome. And yeah, so just I guess kind of to preference that. So like this show was so much fun. The actual in-ring stuff was fine. Everything was okay. The matches were fun. The segments were fine, but like actually being there was so much fun because I was front row. And yeah, so I guess shout out to Ticketmaster or the St.Jospeh Civic Arena, because this was in St. Joe. I don't really know who screwed up, but whoever did, shout out to them, because I got 2 nights of front row tickets, which I'll explain Saturdays. It was a little different how that ended up happening, but yeah, Friday my section wasn't pulled out. I was kind of, my thing was I didn't pay GA, so I didn't want to just sit in the general admission area when I paid specifically for front row of my section. Because my section didn't exist, there was front row seats available, and yeah, it just worked out. But from there, we're gonna go to the merch and the stuff I bought. So first things first, hopefully you guys can see this. A poster. It says Live Pro Wrestling. Then it has Masha Slamovich, Mike Santana, Tessa Blanchard, Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian. And then on the bottom, TNA Impact, the logo, March 28th, 29th, St. Joseph, Missouri, St.Jospeh Civic Arena, and then buy tickets at tnwrestling.com. A little QR code. I'm assuming this is the buy tickets, but yeah, super cool. I love when events do like posters and stuff, including like specific posters. That's really cool. And then on Friday, I got most of my merch on Friday. I'll explain what I got Saturday when I get into the stories and all that. But the shirt I got is Wanted Man, which is Nick Nemeth. Spoiler, Nick Nemeth wasn't at the tapings at all. I have no idea how they're building the Hardys and Nemeth match because he wasn't there, and they didn't really do a lot of segments involving Ryan, who was there. So really strange. I don't understand how that's gonna work. But if you're watching the April 3rd and April 10th edition of Impact, look for me behind the commentators table, or just me in general. I'm same face. I'm wearing this shirt. And then the other thing I bought was the, here we go. I just got the hoodie, the TNA Wrestling hoodie. Super comfortable hoodie. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. I think you kind of understand the gist. Just the logo, super basic. But if you're watching the April 17th Impact before Unbreakable, and the April 24th episode of Impact. Hopefully I'm in frame, I can't see myself. But if you're watching the April 17th, April 24th, behind the commentators table, I'm wearing that hoodie. I know there's one point in the April 24th episode where they're running down the Rebellion card, which I'll talk about that later, how that happened and all that. Like what I heard from it, there's a point where I'm definitely behind them for like a minute straight, just throwing up and doing random stuff. But yeah, also if I'm looking down at all, it's because I wrote everything, because there was a lot of stuff that happened at both tapings, so I just wanted to make sure I had everything, and specifically the order. Like, I remembered everything that happened. I just wanted the order just for the sake of flowing through and kind of what happened where. But Friday's taping, before we get into anything specific, 11 matches, 4 segments, so not too bad. It was about 2.5-ish hours, from 7 to like 9:35, 9:40. But yeah, let's get right into it. We got Savannah Evans versus Maggie Lee. This match was fine. How they did the tapings is they recorded 2 explosion matches, so almost like their version of like a main event, or just dark matches, low key, to a degree. But yeah, so Savannah Evans versus Maggie Lee, who Maggie Lee I think signed that for like last Friday, or maybe Thursday. I think it was Friday that they announced that she signed. So that was cool. And she actually got used a good amount during these tapings as well. So that's good that they're using that signing. But yeah, this match was fine. Maggie Lee, I think Maggie Lee, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure she won. So good for her. And then Loretto Kid went against Jason Hodge, which if you don't know, he's the skinnier guy in the Good Hands, who are the guys who help Mustafa Ali. This match was fine. Loretto Kid won, so good for him, and yeah, no harm, no foul. And then we get into the actual tapings. We had Frankie Kazarian versus Elijah with Joe Hendry on commentary. This match wasn't much of a match. They kind of just did whatever just to get to the main spot, which was Frankie Kazarian pushing Joe Hendry into Elijah, and then beating Elijah, and then Joe Hendry hurting his shoulder off of that. I think is where he hurt his shoulder. I think that's how they were building it. That part was kind of confusing live. They didn't necessarily explain how he hurt his shoulder. They just said he did hurt his shoulder later on, which we'll talk about that. But this match was fine. It was just basically getting heat on Frankie Kazarian, building their matchup to Rebellion, because at this point of the show, it was Frankie Kazarian versus Joe Hendry at Rebellion for the title. The next thing we have is the System talking it out, because they kind of teased some tension. Spoiler, they didn't break up. They all decided to stay together. The only one who really kind of thought about it was Moose. And when Moose was debating it, Kobe Deaner came out and was like, hey, it's not your choice, Moose. It's not the System's choice. It's the people's choice. And then they beat up Kobe Deaner. This was literally the most boringest part of the show, like out of both shows. Anything with Kobe Deaner. I just don't care for Kobe Deaner. I don't understand why TNA is using him, like to the degree that they're using him, but I don't know, just not for me personally. Maybe there's people out there that do like Kobe Deaner. I'm sadly not one of those. Then we go on to Meta 4, which is Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend, going against Spitfire, which is Jody Threat and Danny Luna, or Luna, right? One second. Yeah, Danny Luna. I don't know why I thought I said her name wrong. But there's Spitfire. Meta 4 won, Lash and Jakara won. This match was cool. I think it's cool seeing the NXT girls. There's a lot of NXT girls on these tapings, which I'll get to later, like as we go. But yeah, seeing them kind of in TNA is cool, because TNA's women's roster isn't super deep. So NXT being able to provide, and also gives you a little bang for your buck going to the tapings. But this match was cool. I like Lash. I like Jakara, so I'm happy they won. Next, we have Frankie Kazarian coming out and talking about Rebellion, and then getting interrupted by Ethan Page. This was awesome. Ethan Page coming out was super cool. I've been an Ethan Page fan since like 2021, maybe even late 2020, right when he signed with AEW. I know 2021 for sure, but I've been a fan of Ethan Page for a minute. So seeing Ethan Page live, especially like at a TNA show, was really cool, because he was in TNA like 5 years ago during the pandemic. That was really cool. But for Ethan Page interrupts Frankie Kazarian to announce that he is a part of the Rebellion main event. It was going to be Ethan Page versus Frankie Kazarian versus Joe Hendry in a triple threat, which I was super pro that move. I like Ethan Page a lot, and I like the fact that Ethan Page and Joe Hendry have history from last year when Ethan Page was NXT champion and they had the match at No Mercy. And I think the triple threat makes it more interesting, because Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian did not interest me, especially for a big pay-per-view, not just a TNA Plus special like that as their pay-per-view. I think Ethan Page adds some value, adds better ability, and I think it just makes it a better match. So I was very pro Ethan Page being there. I'm just an Ethan Page fan, so it was a win-win. Next, we had Mustafa Ali versus Ace Austin, which actually wasn't a bad match. Sadly ended in a DQ when Ace Austin was going to get hit by one of the good, I think it was the bigger guy who's on the Good Hands, tried to sweep him off the apron. Ace Austin did like a handstand to avoid it while he was on his hand. Mustafa Ali boom, hits him in the back with the chair, which was really cool because I was actually on our side of the ring, so it was like feet away from me. But yeah, then they start beating up Ace Austin, and then Mike Santana comes out, which was really cool because Mike Santana was literally where he jumped the barricade was the corner that I was sitting in. Like my brother and I were sitting in that corner, so we literally were right next to him, jumping over, which that was really cool. And then Mustafa Ali also escaped the ring, and he jumped over where Mike came in. So seeing Mustafa Ali escape and run out, that was cool. And like obviously, like we were close the whole time, but that was like the first time I was really like, oh, they're right there. So that was really cool. Sadly, the match didn't go long because I think Mustafa Ali and Ace Austin could have a really good match, but I understand the Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana part and building that up for sure. And then probably this was my least favorite part of the show, not counting the system stuff. Well, I guess it actually kind of is because it's Moose versus Kobe Deaner. How they basically set this up was Cody Deaner was like, Moose, if I can last 2 minutes with you, like I want an X Division like title, or not X Division, an X Division title like shot. And then Moose was like, okay, pretty much was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like you're not gonna last 2 minutes. Spoiler: Kobe Deaner lasts 2 minutes. Then they instantly start the match, which they did not. I feel like either I did not listen well or they did not explain that at all because I did not understand that it was going to happen after the 2 minutes. So Kobe Deaner survives the 2 minutes. They have the match, and then Moose just like beats him straight up. So it was kind of pointless, but whatever. And then so after the match, they're beating up Cody Deaner. The Rascals come out, which then leads us to the Rascals versus Brian Myers, and JDC. This match was cool. The System win. The System is like the biggest faction in TNA. They were winning so much, I felt like, during this weekend. But yeah, they beat the Rascals, sadly. Match was fine. It was a good match, solid match, but nothing too crazy. And then we have another segment. One sec, I'm going to get some water. Sorry, I feel like my mouth is getting really dry. But anyways, enough of that. We have Ethan Page, Frankie Kazarian. They come out. They're kind of talking about Rebellion. Ethan Page came out, talked about how he came back to TNA, how he's gonna make it relevant, etc., etc. Frankie Kazarian comes out, says, "I'm the king of TNA. Like I'm winning the title of Rebellion. I don't care if you're in the match." Santino then comes out and basically says like, "Hey, something's going to happen at Unbreakable. You guys might want to listen when Joe Hendry comes out later." Kind of building up the suspense for that segment. This was fine. It was cool seeing more Ethan Page, but it was whatever segment. It was fine. This then leads us to Ryan Nemeth versus Leon Slater. One of the only times they really mentioned the Nemeth and Hardys. Ryan Nemeth. Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure Ryan Nemeth wins. Yeah, Ryan Nemeth wins because he does kind of like Nick Nemeth's finisher, but like instead of to the back, he does it like to the front. And yeah, so Ryan Nemeth wins. Tried to attack Leon Slater after the match, or was beating him up. The Hardys come out and help Leon Slater, and that was that. And again, that was it. Like they didn't really say anything. It was just they came out and saved them. This was fine. I will say, I'm just gonna preference this. The Friday tapings were not as interesting as the Saturday tapings. So if I'm kind of flying through the first half of this, it's kind of why, because it wasn't as interesting, or it was more building to the more important shows, and then those important shows are going to build towards the Rebellion and Unbreakable. So that's kind of why I'm just sort of like everything was fine, because Friday was fine. Like if I only went to Friday, I would have been like, oh, the show was cool. I was front row, which made it better, but the show was okay. Saturday is really where we get in like the fun part of the show, or the more fun stuff. But continuing with Friday, Eddie Edwards versus Steve Macklin. This was probably my favorite match of this is probably tied with my favorite match of the Friday tapings. Eddie Edwards wins. Steve Macklin, the System come out. They kind of interfere. The Northern Armory, which is Eric Young and Sinner and Saint, come out they came out, but then they didn't help Steve Macklin because Macklin's told Eric Young he doesn't want his help, and then Eddie Edwards wins. This match is fine. Alicia Edwards, which is his wife, was on the outside, dude, she would just rip the fans the whole time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes during the matches, I was like watching her because she would just talk to the people around us, obviously, because we're all in the front row. So, like, she's really good at being annoying. Like, like her and Frankie Kazarian are good heels because after the shows, I do not like Frankie Kazarian. I was so tired of seeing him, and she was good too. And then the next thing we have is the Hardys versus the Good Hands. So this is why the Hardys come out. They talk about Nick Nemeth and attacking Matt and how they're the best brother tag team, etc. The Good Hands come out talking about how they won their opportunity and the Hardys beat them. Match was fine. Yeah, just the Good Hands I feel like aren't super. I don't know. I don't feel like they're super like legit. So it was like very obvious the Hardys were gonna beat them. But it was cool seeing the Hardys wrestle as a tag team in TNA. So that was cool. Next is Joe Hendry with his injury talk. This is where he talks about his shoulder and how he's banged up. And yeah, sorry, I was thinking, I don't know if this is, I need to look. Okay, yeah, so this is where it happens. Yeah, sorry. So Joe Hendry talks about his injury in his shoulder, but he is still wrestling at Unbreakable and Rebellion. But specifically, he announces that at Unbreakable, it's going to be Joe Hendry himself versus and Masha Slamovich versus Tessa Blanchard and Frankie Kazarian. So I'm assuming that's the tag team, or that tag team match. I would assume is the main event for Unbreakable. Not bad. But yeah, this was a segment. I was just like, okay, that's cool, but I'm more interested in your title match than a throwaway tag match, which is just building towards your guys' Rebellion matches, but that's fine. And then the main event, or at least the main event of the tapings, the last match, we had JC Jane, Tessa Blanchard, and Jasmine Nix, which is 2/3 of Fatal Influence, and then Tessa Blanchard versus Masha Slamovich, Zaya Brookside, and Lee Yang Lee. This was a fun match. This was probably, this and the Eddie Edwards match were the two best actual matches of the taping. Fatal Influence and Tessa win. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Tessa pinned Masha Slamovich. Tessa Blanchard hit whatever finisher and pinned Masha Slamovich. And yeah, this was a good fun tag, 6-woman tag match. I liked it. Yeah. I don't know. I guess those are my thoughts. Like, I don't really have any specific thoughts on this, but it was a good match. I don't really like Tessa Blanchard. She's a good wrestler, but like her outside ring stuff makes me not like her. So it's really hard when she's in prominent roles. But I like Masha Slamovich, so hopefully Masha wins. If Tessa wins the title, I'll be pretty upset because I like Masha Slamovich. And I think she's doing good as the champ. But now we get into Saturday, which is a lot more exciting, a lot more interesting stuff. The first explosion match we have here is Savannah Evans versus Jody Threat. Savannah Evans actually wins this match, if my memory serves me correct. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. These matches I weren't super paying attention to, but I'm pretty sure Savannah Evans wins. Savannah Evans, I don't know why she's not actually on the show more. Like, she's just doing these explosion matches. I don't know why. She actually has a very good look. She's good in the ring, and I feel like she would be a really good like powerhouse heel. Maybe they're waiting for her to get used, but I feel like Masha and Savannah could have like a fun match, so hopefully she gets used more. But yeah, that match was fine. And then Ryan Nemeth versus Jake Painter. I'm pretty sure Jake Painter's just like a local guy. Ryan Nemeth obviously won, but this was fun. This was cool. I actually like Ryan Nemeth. I think he's a lot better in person than if you were to just watch his matches. Definitely gives Nick vibes. Not as good as Nick, but definitely gives off those Nick vibes. But yeah, this was fine. And then the last explosion match, this one we actually got 3. Eric Young versus Loretto Kid. Eric Young wins. Again, Loretto Kid, someone like Savannah Evans, I don't know why he's not actually getting used on the show, but it is what it is. Also, Eric Young didn't wrestle an actual match on Impact, only this match. And then he had that segment. He was a part of the Steve Macklin match, which I don't know why. I like Eric Young. He has Sinner and Saint, who's a tag team that should be getting used more. So maybe once Rebellion's finished, that will be kind of like a summer thing where they'll be getting used more. I hope, because I do like the Northern Armory. They're a cool team. But we get into the actual tapings, and the first thing we have is Mance Warner coming out with Steph DeLander and they're just talking about how they're the hottest couple in TNA and how they're the digital media champion, blah, blah, blah. Santino comes out, tells Steph that she's getting stripped because she didn't actually win the title. She got it through the divorce with PCO, but obviously he doesn't name PCO. And then he basically he strips the title and he announces the TNA International Championship, that is going to be happening. There's going to be a tournament and at Unbreakable, and every match is going to be triple threat matches, and the winner is going to be the first ever international TNA champion, which is really cool because the digital media champion, I don't know, it's fine, but it's the digital media, so like I'm pretty sure the implication was it was going to be defended on some, I don't know, I actually don't remember, some digital media show, or I feel like they had a show on something, and that was the title for it. But I think the international title is good, gives them another mid-card championship. International is interesting, another company uses that, but TNA is going to have their own, and it's good because they actually have a good men's roster. Like for what they have a decently like deep roster, so this is cool. Just another title, more opportunities, and less of a joke title. I feel like the digital media title was kind of always a joke. Hopefully this one will be more pristine. And I like the fact that they're using triple threats as an homage to the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels Unbreakable 2005 triple threat match. Nice little homage, 20-year anniversary of that match. Which Santino Marella actually mentions that. He says, he mentions that match and says all their names too, which was interesting. But yeah, so that was cool. And then at the end, Sami Callihan attacks Mance Warner and throws him off the stage. And that's how that segment ends. So I could very easily see Mance Warner and possibly also Sami Callihan being a part of the finals of that tournament and one of them actually winning it. So yeah, that was a cool little fun segment. And then from there we go to JC Jane versus Rosemary. This match was fine. JC Jane wins. It definitely seems like JC Jane and Masha Slamovich is going to be something again. Like they're going to definitely push that again. But this match was cool. Seeing Rosemary was cool too. I think she has a really interesting character. And I know her and Masha did some stuff at Genesis. But hopefully Rosemary can kind of stay relevant because I do think she's a good hand to have. But yeah, JC Jane wins. It's interesting to see JC Jane's booking in the TNA or in TNA versus her NXT run, where NXT it's like I feel like sometimes Fallon Henley's more of the focal point, where in TNA she is definitely like the main person in Fatal Influence, where Fallon Henley, she didn't even wrestle. She was there, she was like a manager, but she doesn't wrestle. So seeing JC Jane getting kind of a bigger push is cool. And at the end, Fatal Influence tried to attack Rosemary, but Xia Brookside and Li Yang Lee came out to save her, which was fine. And this actually set up for Xia Brookside and Jasmine Nix later on the show. But after this was Casey Navarro versus Cody Deaner. This was actually a qualifier for the Ultimate X match that Moose is having at Rebellion. Again, Cody Deaner kind of playing up the previous stuff with Moose. Him and Casey Navarro had a solid match, fine match. Casey Navarro won, so Casey Navarro is going to be in the Ultimate X match. At least that's what they said. I'm pretty positive this was an Ultimate X qualifying match. So that's cool. And then during the tapings, I don't remember like during or but after or before what, but they were actually running down the Rebellion card, and I can confirm to the people who are the 5 people I might watch. I don't know how many people are watching this, but to the people that are watching this, Matt Cardona is going to be in the Ultimate X match, is what I heard. I think AJ Francis also is going to be in the match. Moose, Casey Navarro. I don't remember who else they said, but I know Matt Cardona, because when I heard that I was like, oh, Matt Cardona, that's weird. And then the Rascals are having a tag match versus, I didn't catch who he said, but he said they're going to be accompanied by Sean Waltman, which if you don't know, that's X-Pac. So that's really interesting. So they're definitely trying to bring in a lot of people for Rebellion, so that was cool. Ultimate X is such a fun match though, but yeah, Matt Cardona will be there, which is cool. I wish Matt Cardona was at the tapings. I actually like Matt Cardona. But next we have Heather by Elegance and Maggie Lee. Ash by Elegance couldn't make it, so they were gonna see if Maggie Lee had what it take to, join them, and if she had what it take to, be one of them essentially. So this was like a tryout match for her, right? And then they went against Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. Again, two girls who, if you watch NXT, aren't currently doing a lot, but in TNA they've been doing some stuff. They're a cool tag team. They have a good look, and I like their wrestling. They're good too, and they won. Obviously, they beat Maggie Lee and Heather by Elegance. This match was fine. It was cool seeing Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley though, especially Gigi, who's been in NXT for years, and then with Mandy Rose and JC Jane, and now she's kind of trying to find her way again. But it was cool seeing her for sure. But yeah, this tag match was solid. It was solid. Next was Jakara Jackson versus Dani Luna. Dani Luna wins, which actually kind of shocked me, just because Jakara Jackson is kind of pretty relevant in NXT, but I guess it kind of makes sense because they also beat Spitfire in the tag match. But yeah, Jakara Jackson loses, Dani Luna wins. I could definitely see Metaphor going after those titles at one point. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if a NXT Women's Tag Team wins those titles at Rebellion or even Unbreakable, because they definitely are getting a lot of shine on the team or on the shows, whether it's Fatal Influence, whether it's Metaphor, Gigi and Tatum. Like, they're definitely, like, them as teams are wrestling more than actual TNA women's teams. But yeah. And then here we get the only other segment of the Saturday taping, which was, by the way, I didn't actually mention this. The Saturday taping was 14 matches in 2 segments. So Fridays was 11 matches in 4 segments. We got 3 more matches and 2 less segments. So Saturday was definitely the taping to go to, especially if you like watching live wrestling. It was also twice as packed, which I actually forgot to mention. Sorry, quick sidebar. So back to the tickets. How we got Saturday front row tickets is our section was actually pulled out, so we had got our seats, and I was kind of bummed about that, but I was like, you know what, these are seats I paid for, they're fine, but they're not front row, right? 10 minutes or so before the show, I see that the seats we were sitting in on Friday are still open. So I was telling my brother, I was like, hey, sit here, like, I'm gonna go talk to the guy I talked to yesterday who basically gave us the front row seats. So I go find him and I'm like, hey, yesterday our seats weren't pulled out, the section wasn't pulled out, and you put us front row. I've noted, I basically told him, I see that the seats are open, any chance that we could just take them, right, and just have the seats again? And he goes, knock yourself out, bro, you can have them. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, really appreciate it. I told my brother, hey, come here, we sit there, boom, we got front row. So that's what made this show even better. Saturday was so much more fun because it just felt more important, because it was building up to the actual pay-per-view, whereas Friday was kind of setting the groundwork for Rebellion, where this was really getting us to Rebellion. But yeah, so I had front row again, and that's how I got it. I didn't fail to mention that. And I also did get something else on Saturday, but I'm going to talk about that at the end, because it will make sense it'll make sense. But the next thing we had was Elijah. He basically just announced a Rebellion Open Challenge and said anyone from anywhere can come wrestle me. And yeah, so I don't know who that's actually going to be. Maybe if I watch the show or through segments, they'll kind of hint at it. But it could be anybody. It could be an NXT person. It could be a main roster person. It could be a returning. Could be a debut. So I'll definitely watch out for that, because that has potential to be something really interesting. Next, we have Brian Myers versus Leon Slater. This was a surprising, really good match. There was one point in this match that Brian Myers hits a spear on Leon Slater while they're on the outside. That looked devastating. Brian Myers actually wins this match. And yeah, this was good. This was a good match. Leon Slater getting used a lot well. He's someone that I feel like once they have that international title, he could be someone that should for sure be in the title picture, either that or maybe he'll go to X Division, not sure. But yeah, this match was really fun, and I'm happy Brian Myers won. I'm a big Major Wrestling Figure Pod guy, so I like Brian Myers a lot, and I was happy he won. And I literally pretty sure, actually the System won every match they were in, so that's a statistic. But the next match we have is AJ Francis versus Sami Callihan versus Mance Warner. This was a fun match too. Definitely Saturday, they were really all right, we're going to give y'all some matches. This one wasn't super long, but it was fun. I like all 3 of the guys involved. AJ Francis ends up winning. I liked there was actually a part of the I was gonna try to grab the poster, but I can't. But there's actually a part of the match where Sami Callihan grabs one of those posters that I showed earlier in the video, and actually does the paper cut spot to both Mance and AJ. But yeah, AJ wins with a choke slam in a fun triple threat, kind of building towards Unbreakable in the tournament, and then Ultimate X, which I'm pretty sure AJ is in. I'm like 90% sure I heard him say that. Hell, for all I know, this could actually have been a qualifying match for that. I don't quite remember. But it is interesting that First Class is both in Ultimate X. I like it though. I think they're both going to provide something good. But yeah, so that was that. Good triple threat. Next we have Trey Miguel and Ace Austin versus Moose and JDC. I don't know why Zachary Wentz didn't team with Trey again, but Ace Austin did. They lost to Moose and JDC anyway, so it didn't really matter. But this is going to lead, I'm assuming Sean Waltman's going to somehow be involved, because they said that he was going to be with the Rascals at Rebellion. But this match wasn't too bad. Very standard, kind of just normal tag match. Moose JDC wins. Yeah, again, if you watch TNA, dude, the system they win so much that once Moose loses that title, it's actually going to be relevant because he wins a lot. Obviously, he lost like Obafemi, but like in TNA, like specifically, they always win. So I wouldn't be surprised if after the Nemesis, if like Myers and JDC go after the tag titles again, or like Myers or Edwards or some combination of those two, because they win too much to not be in title pictures, unless they have one of them branch off to like the international or something like that. But this match was fine. Jasmine Nix versus Zaya Brookside, solid match. Zaya Brookside won, nothing crazy there. Tessa Blanchard then went against, I don't remember her name. I put random on the paper. She's not random, but she's not a TNA wrestler. I think she's also a local person. Tessa Blanchard won, and it was pretty straightforward. But yeah, after the match, Masha Slamovich did attack Tessa Blanchard, which is always good because Tessa Blanchard just shouldn't be up. She's not a good person. Sorry. The next two matches, this next match is actually probably my favorite match of the entire weekend. Frankie Kazarian and Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry and Elijah. It's the only match Joe Hendry wrestled in, and I also love the fact I got to see Ethan Page. Also, before the match, while Elijah and Joe Hendry were doing their entrances, there was like a gap. I don't know if that was like a commercial thing or they were setting it up or whatever. But Ethan Page was kind of talking to fans, and I'm going like, hey, or I didn't say hey. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I say? I was like, oh, let's go, Ego, let's go. And he kind of just looks at me, and I'm like, why are you mad? I'm boosting your ego. What do you want me to boost your ego? You're all ego. And he kind of looks at me, and he goes, no. And I was like, oh well. But he when he said no, it looked like he wanted to smile, and I was like, I almost got you to smile, man. I almost boosted your ego. But that was a fun little interaction. Nothing crazy, but I thought that was fun. Just him looking at me and being like, no. Because it was like, bro, you're all ego. Obviously, I should boost your ego. But this tag match was fun. Joe Hendry and Elijah do win, which is good because Elijah has the open challenge. Joe Hendry obviously is your champion. And so they end up winning, which is good. Because I feel like when champions lose right before a pay-per-view, it almost gives it away. I feel like them winning made more sense because it kind of gives the intrigue of maybe Frankie Kazarian or Ethan Page could win. I don't think neither of them will, but you never know. Also, it makes sense that Ethan Page and Frankie Kazarian are both egotistical heels. They shouldn't win and work well together. This was a fun match. Seeing Ethan Page wrestle live, again, I kind of said it a little earlier, but just such a good time. I don't know. I'm such a fan of him that seeing him doing well and being booked consistently and being an important part of the show is just, it's fun. And then the main event, Mustafa Ali, Good Hands, and Tasha Steelz versus the Hardys, Masha Slamovich, and Mike Santana. This was pretty straightforward. I will say it was cool at the beginning of the match. They all were attacking them in the ring, and then they went on the outside. We had Mike Santana and Mustafa Ali was right near us. So that was really, really cool. And then just pretty straightforward. It was fun. It wasn't bad, but it was pretty straightforward. Heels, beat up, kind of a comeback. Heels, beat up, comeback, heels, comeback. Everyone hits their stuff. 1, 2, 3. Good guys win. But yeah, so like I kind of said earlier, this was really fun. Like, I definitely being front row made this experience for me personally. I don't need this anymore. But being front row definitely made the experience more fun. I personally think if I would have just sat in like the hundreds, it probably wouldn't have been as fun of a show. But front row, dude, like I've never been front row for a wrestling show, and I've been before the TNA events, I've been to 32. Now I've been to 34 because Friday and Saturday. In my head, they're kind of just one big show, but they are technically two separate shows. I just got the 2-day combo for it. But Saturday was so much more fun. Like honestly, like so how you'll see it is the Friday taping was April 3rd and 10th, and then the Saturday taping was the April 17th and April 24th. April 17th and 24th, I would tell you guys, like I would recommend watch those. Those are fun. April 3rd and 10th, I would maybe skip through some stuff, like obviously what I just read. Kind of skip, pick and choose, but I'll probably just skim through, try to find me on camera. Definitely get those videos and just probably throw them on my Instagram story or something. Speaking of, by the time this video is up, I definitely have already posted one post about it, just with videos and photos of my experience. And then possibly by the time this video is uploaded, there might be 2 up there. So if you don't, or if you haven't, follow me at Bazooka Berry on Instagram. But the last thing before I end this video and finish talking about my experience is they were selling meet and greets. Friday, I didn't get any meet and greets because I met the Hardys last summer. I don't know if you can see, but there's a 2-pack there. Hopefully I'm showing that off. But back there behind me, I'm kind of pointing to it. Again, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I've met the Hardys. So I didn't really have any reason to meet them, and I didn't really want just an 8x10 signed by him because it's like $200 to meet both. For the combo if you wanted the photo and autograph. But so it was like the Hardys, Mustafa Ali, Santino Marella, Tessa Blanchard, and I don't remember the last person. It was Mustafa, the Hardys, Tessa, Santino Marella, Moose. That's who it was. It was Moose. Because I was like, oh, Moose would be kind of interesting, but I didn't do it. Saturday, I kind of didn't spend as much as I thought I would because the poster was $5, the hoodie was $50, the t-shirt was $30, so I only spent like $80. But I looked at the meet and greets and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna spend some money. So especially because I saw the poster, and then so Saturday, it was Masha Slamovich, Mike Santana, Joe Hendry, and the Hardys. Again, I already met the Hardys, but I was like, I've never met Masha, Mike, or Joe, and they're all on the poster. So that's who I decided to meet. I spent, Mike Santana was $40, Masha Slamovich was $40, and Joe Hendry was Joe Hendry was $100 for a combo. I'm gonna show it off. Hopefully I'm actually showing this well, but here's the poster. So here's the poster. Up here, this is probably the hardest one to see, but there's Masha Slamovich. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's Masha Slamovich. Over there is Mike Santana. And then down here is Joe Hendry. Hopefully any of you guys can see that. One of my posts on Instagram, I will kind of post a photo of it. I do need to buy a frame for that eventually, but yeah, Mike Santana was super cool. I just went up to him, I put the poster down, he signed it, and I said, hey man, it's been awesome seeing your singles stuff. I bet it was pretty nerve-wracking, like since you've been mostly a tag team guy, kind of coming and doing your singles run, but like you've been killing it, and like, can't wait to see you win a title. And he was like, oh, I appreciate it, dude. Like, he definitely was, but yeah, like I appreciate the love, and I've been, I feel like I've been doing really good so far. And I was like, can't wait to see you get the X Division. He was like, X Division, I'm trying to get the world title. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I didn't say that though. I was just like, yeah, why not both? Like, let's get you all the titles. And he kind of just like smiled, and we took our photo. So that was cool. And then Masha Slamovich, while she was signing the poster, I was just like, hey, this might be a long shot, but just curious, is it cool if I hold the title? And she was like, you know what? Sure, why not? And she's like, you have to beat me for it. And I was like, oh, can I stretch at least? And she goes, no, you can't stretch. You got to go right now. And I was like, oh, I'm screwed. Like, you got it. And she's like, oh, she's like, she was like, oh, okay. She was like, hey, if you win though, you gotta defend it. And I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna win. And I was like, you're doing a good job of defending it. It's like, you got it. And then yeah, so she kind of laughed, and she was like handing me the belt, and I put it on my shoulder, took the photo. That's already on Instagram as well, all the photos that I got with them. But she was super cool, and I didn't realize till after she actually did like the Triple H like point. I mean, it's not really a Triple H point, but she did like the point, and she just smiled for two of them, and she made like a kind of face. I don't know if I even properly like. You'll see the photo. I'll put the photo up here. Don't go to Instagram. It's gonna be in the video. But I thought that was really funny. I didn't realize she was pointing because how I was standing, she was on my right, and I kind of like just, I guess this is me holding the belt, by the way. So I was holding the belt, and I didn't realize she was pointing at me. So looking back at the photo, realizing she was doing the point, that was cool. Mike Santana just kind of did a generic like fists up thing, and then Joe Hendry. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know what to say to Joe Hendry. I didn't really have anything planned for him. Like Mike Santana, I had something planned. Masha, I was gonna ask about the title, and if that went south, I was probably just gonna tell her that her reign's been really good and she's been killing it. But thankfully, she let me hold the title, and she was super nice about it, like super friendly, fun banter, like being like, "Oh, now you gotta beat me for it." Like I thought that was so like cool of her, and like honestly, just the interaction alone made me like Masha Simovic even more because of how cool it was meeting her. Sadly, Joe Hendry, I just didn't really have anything to say. I was gonna say like, when I was in line, I was gonna say, "Hey, like it was super awesome seeing your Royal Rumble appearance. Hopefully, you know, you get a couple guys to jump down here, and maybe you and Sheamus, or I don't know." I was gonna say something, but then when I met him, my mind just kind of went blank. I don't know, just like 4 or 5 hours of being there just caught up with me, but he was just like, "Hey, how's it going?" I was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And then I just kind of watched him sign it, and his shoulder I think is actually messed up because he was like holding the really awkwardly, and like how he was signing it was just super weird, which is kind of why I feel like the signature is a bit weird. But I've also seen Joe Henry's signature. His signature is just weird. Like I don't know, it's very interesting. Sorry, I keep looking at the poster, but yeah, so I kind of went blank. He signed it. We took our photo. Then I went home. But super fun experience. Again, I feel like I'm just saying super fun, but genuinely, like, this might not have been the best wrestling show I've been to. I've been very blessed. I've been able to go to a lot of fun pay-per-views. I've been able to go to WrestleMania, like fun Dynamites, fun Raws, or good Raws. Maybe not fun, but like really good shows. And this might not have been the best show, but this was one of the most fun shows I've been to. Like just being front row, high-fiving Jeff Hardy, high-fiving Mike Santana, being feet away, talking to Ethan Page, like genuinely one of the most fun wrestling shows I've been to. I recommend if you can. They're not really expensive. I will say I bought 3 tickets because I was supposed to go with 3 people. One person wasn't able to make it because of prior commitments. So I went with 2, and because of the section to back debacle, I got upgraded to front row. So I essentially paid $150 for 2 front row tickets right behind the commentators. So that was pretty awesome. I love all the pictures I took too because I was so close. I have so many great potential 8x10s. And then I got to meet the world champion, women's champion, and a singles guy who I think has been killing it. I got this poster 3/5 of the way signed. Again, here's the poster. I love this. This is so much fun. I can't wait to. This is so good. Can't wait to get it framed. But I just need to meet Frankie Kazarian and Tessa Blanchard, which I don't think are going to be hard, and then I'll have it finished. Which is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to meet Joe Hendry too, was because I was like, all right, I'm already going to meet Masha and Mike. So I bought them, and then I waited a while, and I just went back to meet Joe, and I was like, might as well try to get this poster almost finished while I can, financially and just like accessibility, because like they're right there. But yeah, super fun show. I guess I didn't preference with spoilers, but obviously I'm reviewing tapings, so I don't have to watch TNA for the next month because I already know what's happening. I'll probably jump in and kind of just see how it looked on TV or how it was filmed and see if I can find me, because there's definitely numerous points where the camera's pointing at me. But yeah, awesome time, great experience. Yeah, I have nothing other to say, but hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more, because in the next couple months I will be going to more shows. I want to do a room tour. I want to talk about my collection, kind of just the same stuff I talked about if you watched my Dynamite review. Also, I don't know how long this is. I don't have a camera, or I don't have a clock. I have a camera, obviously. So this might be a really long video. It might be like a 30-40 minute yap session, but I don't care. I had a lot of fun. I want to talk to you guys about it. Also, I mean, I guess you've already noticed, but I'm not gonna, like, on my Dynamite, I post a picture for every single thing I went to, or that I saw, like, that happened. I'm probably not doing that for this. It's probably just gonna be random things. So if they don't correlate, that's why. But if you finished the whole video and you watched all of this and heard me ramble and talk about what I thought and talk about what happened, thank you. I truly appreciate it. If you hit that subscribe button, even just watching the video, like, any type of, like, interaction with this is awesome, just because I just started, and I really appreciate it. Also, if you follow my Instagram, I have more followers on Instagram. I've been doing that for the last a year plus. I started last year, actually. Yeah, so if you definitely want to see more photos, videos, me talking about wrestling, reviewing pay-per-views, go follow my Instagram. And again, for everyone who's finished this video, who's watched this video, who even just watched any part of this video, thank you. I truly do appreciate it, and I hope you have a good one. See you in the next one.